Halo kawan Gema Bangsa sekalian, saya Adi Indriani Zuhri, Ketua Bidang Lingkungan dan Reforma Agraria. Kali ini kita hadir pada podcast yang di hari Minggu yang cerah ini, di mana orang-orang pada istirahat semua setelah mengikuti deklarasi Gema Bangsa di Plenary Hall JCC kemarin. Dan bersama saya sekarang ada Januari. Januari ini adalah mantan senator Partai Hijau Australia dan mengunjungi kita sejak hari Jumat sampai dengan Selasa nanti untuk bersama-sama memberikan dukungan kepada deklarasi Partai Gema Bangsa. Halo Janet, how are you today?
Bagus.
This is first time for you to coming in Gema Bangsa party office, right? Yeah. What your was here when you this is first time for you to come to Indonesia or not?
My first time in 30 years.
30 years
Yes,
ago?
30 years ago was the last time I was here. In fact, it was just after the Australian Greens were formed. So we formed the party in November 1992, and I had a trip to Indonesia in December, Christmas 1992. Because my sister...
How long have you been here? Stay here in 30 years ago?
Yeah, 30 years ago.
Yeah, how long you
2-3 weeks. My sister Diana was working in Solo in Central Java, and we had Christmas with Diana. And my son John, who is now 34 years old, was 16 bulan. Everybody asked how old John was, and he was 16 bulan. So
how do you feel? How do you feel until 30 years ago and now?
But it's been a good 32 or whatever, however many years.
Yeah. How do you think about Indonesia now after your memory for 30 years ago?
Look, I think Indonesia is an amazing country. It's you've got such a wonderful place, such wonderful natural. I don't like calling them resources, features, and incredibly friendly people. I've been here for 2 days, but I'm really appreciating just the vibrant culture as well. And being at the Gema Bangsa launch yesterday, I was blown away. I thought, wow, that's right.
Wow.
And just the power and the strength and the creativity and just such an important and significant player on the world stage.
Okay, so because you already mentioned about the Gema Bangsa party before, and you come here as an invitation from Gema Bangsa to collaborate and as a representative from Australia Green. To attending the declaration of Gema Bangsa Party. What do you think about the declaration yesterday?
Look, I would really appreciate the invitation to come to the declaration and launch yesterday. And it was very special to be able to be there representing the Australian Greens and sort of to be forming those connections between the Australian Greens and Gema Bangsa. So as I said, the launch yesterday, 5,000 people in the Jakarta Convention Centre.
It's so big.
Was stunning. It was massive. It was big. Besar sekali. And much more than anything that we have ever done of the Australian Greens in Australia. We have never put on a performance, a show like that. That's right. And so it was a real statement that Gema Bangsa is big and serious, and it is really here to shake up Indonesian politics. And I'm sure the launch and the declaration yesterday is going to be a moment in Indonesian political history that will be remembered.
So this is the serious commitment and serious movement from Gema Bangsa Party.
Yes, and I was thinking that launching it up, and I know it was very big and it was very expensive, and I'm sure that there were discussions as to do we want to spend that much money on the launch, but it made a statement and it said we are here to be successful. And we are here to be successful representing the Indonesian people, which is such a powerful statement, that we're not just going to be a little small player in politics.
Okay.
Clearly, Gema Bangsa has got its sights big, and that is really important because there are so many people that will look at different political parties and political movements, and they will decide to support them or not based on whether they think they're going to be successful. So in Australia with the Greens, a lot of times people will say, oh, we like what you say as the Greens, but even though we have members of Parliament, they say, oh, but you're not in government. You're never going to really be able to implement your policies. And so they don't vote for us because they don't see us as being big enough, because they don't think that we will ever have the opportunity to implement our policies. We obviously, we try and tell the Australian people, no, we are successful and we are building and we are growing and we want to be in government one day and we can implement our policies and we can influence governments along the way by being in the Parliament. But we do have it's a public relations issue of people not seeing us as being successful enough.
Okay.
And so for Gema Bangsa to launch and say, we are here, we are going to be successful,
nice.
I think is a really important thing to have done.
Yeah, so as your experience as a senator for 10 years, and then this is also experiences to as a part of Australia Greens. And so you said as a political party, we have 2 winning seats, right? For what?
To create change. There are so many problems that are facing the world.
So definition as a party, we have winning a seat to make a reform.
That's right. I mean, I started my career, when I was 20, I was at university, I learned about climate change, and I thought, this is really serious. That was a long time ago. We have to get the change that's needed. And I looked at and I then worked as an environment activist with the environment non-government organisations for quite a few years, working on climate, working on forests, trying to get change, lobbying the government, and the government weren't listening. And so I was passionate about the need for change. And it's the same, it's change for the environment, but also if we're going to have a fairer society, if we're going to have better healthcare, better education, if we're going to have, people being the opportunity to have more equality in our society, to get rid of racism, discrimination, all of these things, there's a lot of change needed. But on the environment, which is where I started, I saw that the government wasn't listening. So really important to have those non-government organisations and the community doing lots of active campaigning, but if the people in the parliaments aren't listening, well then we've got to replace them. We've got to make our democracy work for us, and as well as having the people in the NGOs, we need to have people in the parliaments that will listen to those NGOs, listen to the community and be their representatives. And so that's, as working in NGOs, I said, they're not listening, we need to replace them. Which was when we then formed the Australian Greens and said we are starting to be a party to win seats. We came from the NGOs, we came from people who are activists on the ground, but we're different from them because our purpose is to take all of that energy and that campaigning and to try and win seats in the parliament, to actually have political power, to be able to then share that political power with people and with the movements, to actually be able to implement things in the parliaments. Because there are a lot of important decisions that get made in parliaments.
This is law and recommendation from
the laws,
you.
Parliaments, even though a lot of people say, I don't want to get involved in politics, and they look at me and they say, Janet, how could you get involved in politics? It's horrible, it's an awful place. And as a woman, it's a horrible, sexist, awful place. And I said, well, we've got to change it. Because the alternative to changing it, if you have a democracy, as we do in Australia, as you do pretty much in Indonesia, both of our democracies are flawed, they're not as good as what they could be.
So we can change it with the political party?
We can, either we have to say we're going to work and try and improve our democracy and get people elected to our parliaments that will really listen, or you give up altogether, and then what do you do? Because then you have the people in the parliaments are still there making bad laws. The only other alternative is to say, oh, well, we're going to, try and overthrow the government altogether, and that isn't a good way of going from my political perspective. Because overthrow the whole political system, have a coup, have a rebellion, they don't usually end well. Yeah. And I think we're much better off actually forming our political system and making our democracy work for us, make our democracy fairer, and get people elected into our parliaments who really have got the interests of the community at heart.
Really interesting. Yeah, Gema Bangsa have a commitment, one of our commitment for ecological and also indigenous people dignity. And you can see when the opening for the Gema Bangsa Party Declaration, we mentioned about the sovereignty and ecological ecology and we care about the ecology sovereignty. And what do you think about the Gema Bangsa Party commitment for ecology, democracy, and social issues?
I mean, it's there in the party platform now, which is great.
Yes.
And if you look at the Greens, and as well as being one of the founders of the Greens in Australia and helping the Greens grow over those 32 years, I've also been involved with the Global Greens. The Global Greens were formed in 2001. And all Greens parties around the world have got that core commitment to ecological sustainability, to social and economic justice, including rights for Indigenous people, peace and non-violence, and participatory democracy, giving people a say and having really good democratic systems. And so when I look at the platform of Gema Bangsa, I think, they've got a policy platform that reflects those 4 pillars of the Greens. And it's a matter then of putting them into place. And to be staying true then to that policy platform of getting the change that's needed. And that does mean, there are going to be some people at the moment, companies in Indonesia that aren't going to be happy with the implementation of those policies. And it's the same in Australia. I don't know the politics of Indonesia as well as obviously as Australia, but in Australia we have big companies that they campaign against us very strongly because they know that they won't have the same power, they won't be making as much money, they won't be making the same profits, they won't be able to exploit people, destroy the environment as much when Greens policies are implemented. Because they want to be able to continue to, pollute, to destroy, to rip out our forests, to dig up mountainsides. They want to continue to be able to pay people poorly and not fairly. They want to be able to cut their costs and not have to have really good controls over their operations. And Greens policies say, no, we're happy to have those companies operate, but you've got to operate sustainably. You've got to operate in a way which is fair to the people that you're employing. So they campaign against us. So people like, Gina Reinhardt, for example, who has also got business interests in Indonesia, they are very strong. They will work against trying to get us elected. But we know what we've got on our side is the interests of the people as well as the interest of a healthy planet now and into the future.
Yeah, because you mentioned about the disaster and of ecological disaster in Indonesia, and we have too many disaster because of extractivism activity in Indonesia, mining, nickel, and also palm oil plantation. What do you think about how Gema Bangsa Party have to do for protecting the natural resource in Indonesia and also to make a substantial campaign for natural resource in Indonesia?
Well, I think, working with the local communities is the starting place, because you've got to have the people understanding what the issues are and being supportive of your policies. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to get them implemented. And then it's working out what is, sustainable and socially and economically just development in a particular area. And it's not coming in and taking over Indigenous people's lands and planting massive amounts of palm oil plantations, destroying the environment, destroying the livelihoods of those Indigenous people. But that doesn't mean that there is no economic development that's possible there. You can have economic development, but it's working with the people and taking people's rights into account and having power, Indigenous people having power over their own land and being able to make decisions, having that self-determination to decide this is what we want to have happen. But it might be some forestry operations. Maybe it is some plantations, but it might be a much smaller amount of plantations. But I think it's really working with the local people to work out what is that, that plan, what's your vision for their local area, and then helping them to implement it. And I think, it's not the companies at the moment that are currently exploiting and destroying, they are going to push back against that. They're not going to like that because it means that they might be able to still operate there, but they won't be making as much money. They will have more controls over what they will do. They won't have the absolute power to be able to come in and say, we're clearing this land and we don't care what you think and we're just going to move you off your land and move you somewhere else. They would have to work with the local people to work out what is the appropriate and sustainable thing to be doing.
So do you think the political support for make a reform for some of regulation of the...
Absolutely. Yes, because at the moment, your laws and regulations obviously don't give enough power to local people. If you can have people coming in, companies coming in, and whether it's legal or illegal, being able to destroy the land that people have been surviving on, there needs to be reform. There need to be better laws and regulations so that that doesn't happen. And then there need to be better enforcement of those laws and regulations so things don't happen illegally. And you've got corruption where, things happen illegally, it's actually against the law, but there's people turn a blind eye and there's no consequence that's taken. Okay. So actually, reforming those laws to give local people more power and then enforcing those laws is really important. And they're the sort of laws that get decided in the parliaments. They get decided and voted on by members of parliament, which is why we need to have people in the parliaments to be making better laws that really have the interests of ordinary local people at their heart.
Could you sending the message for the all member of Gema Bangsa Party? How the step, maybe first step, second step, and the other step to be a green politician. Yes, as a green politician, and can be collaborate and working together with the grassroots or the community in regional, so they can changing and make a better conclusion or regulation for the grassroots.
I think the first step is group as a movement deciding on what you want to achieve, and it might be across the whole country or it might be at a local level, because you've got to have a clear vision of where you want to be going.
Okay.
And a clear vision, but you get that clear vision by working with people and involving people in developing that vision.
Okay.
And then it's understanding that this vision, it might be, blue sky, it might take a long time, but we've got to be working to try and achieve that vision. And one of the things that I have learnt from my 40 years as an activist and a politician is that things take longer than you think. And we haven't got nearly as much far now as what I would have hoped. When I was that 20-year-old learning about climate change,
your full experience about
45 years later, it's so frustrating that we haven't got as far as what we need to get. But we just have to keep working at it. But the other the important first step is to be building that movement, because we're not going to be achieving the change that we need. You can't do it by yourself. You can't do it as an individual. And even most, cleverest, best politician, they can't achieve that change alone. They've got to have people working with them to achieve change. And so actually building that movement of people working together to have a shared vision and to have that commitment and that vision, and to say, we are going to be working together to try and achieve this vision. It might take beyond, their active time in the party or the movement. So for me, now at the age of 65 and finished in the Senate, I'm still doing quite a lot of things, but I know that I'm passing the baton on to younger people, and I know that all of the work that I've been doing to try and achieve that green vision of a better, greener, fairer society, it hasn't gone to waste. We haven't got there yet, but it doesn't mean that we can't get there. Just because we haven't achieved what we want to achieve by now doesn't mean we can't get there. And you look at, there are so many, the world's in a pretty awful place at the moment. You look at the threat of war, the environmental destruction, the climate crisis, economic inequality going off the scale, Trump threatening to invade Greenland as well as Venezuela and everywhere else, Chinese government suppression of people around the world, Tibet and Hong Kong. You could get very depressed and feel that there's not, why get involved in politics? But what else can you do? Because we can't just give up. You've got to keep having hope that by having people working together, we can achieve change.
What we have to do.
What we have to do, and it might be just a little bit of change on the ground. In your local village. You might just be able to say, well, we want to do some things to help people have more economic independence. And, that might be what you can achieve. In Australia, we often talk about, in your local town, you might be establishing a community garden or getting more lanes so that people can ride their bikes safely rather than having to rely on cars. All these little things, but those little things add up. And what's more, they inspire people to know that it's worth doing something, to give people that sense of empowerment, that by working together we can achieve change. And so then it's by working on those small things together, they also can feel inspired and resilient to be working on the big changes. Because, if you look at the moment of, the government in Indonesia and fossil fuels and climate change and inequality, you'd think, there's a lot that you need to do. There's a lot that you need to change.
Too many focus or no have focus.
That's right. And it would be easy to say, what's the point? I'm just going to go off and go shopping. But if we all do that, well, then nothing's going to change. The only thing that's going to change is for us to be working together and supporting each other and having fun together. And that was another thing that I really liked about the launch yesterday. There was a lot of fun involved. A lot of people enjoying themselves and being, feeling strong and powerful and happy together.
This is like a vacation, holiday with our constituent.
Because if we have to enjoy ourselves along the way.
We have to enjoy with our community.
We have to, and to know that we've got that solidarity of the people that we're working with, so that because that gives us the internal resilience to be able to keep going. Because if everything is very gloomy and you feel like you are ploughing through mud to get there, and you're having conflicts with your colleagues, you're not going to stay involved. You're not going to be able to keep on working for
Don't make it conflict with your friend in the party. It's really the meaningful message.
There will be conflict. There are always conflicts. If you have passionate people working together who have got very strong views, there will be conflicts, but you have to resolve those conflicts. You've got to talk about them and work out the way forward so that you can keep working together.
Maybe we have to discuss about the common needs, not about the internal needs,
Yes.
So this is really interesting, Janet, and the meaningful message. We have to collaborate and working together and living together with our community. So after we working and living together with them, we can find some of needs from them.
Yes.
And try to find the solution.
Yes.
And the strategy for the campaign or resolution or the program for make a reform with the policy. That's true.
And building upon the wisdom that is there in the community. I work as a facilitator, working with groups to help them achieve their aims. And one of the things that we say is the wisdom is in the group. No one person has got all the answers. So it's working with the group.
So what do you think? We have to discussion and collaborate with person by person or with community?
Oh, both.
Both.
It's a mix.
Mix.
It's a mix. And there'll be some people that won't agree. So, which is where having that vision is important, because it's actually, or that policy platform, the things that the values that you stand for. So, the values of the Greens, of ecological sustainability, of respect and care for all of life, of democracy, and ending discrimination. That's really important, because you will have people that might come along to your community events that actually don't share those values. They don't want to listen to won't listen to other people. They will want to continue to be, pretty awful people and be racist and all of that. And you're not going to get those people on board. You don't need to get everybody on board. And those people, you just say, thanks very much, I don't think this is going to be, for you. But there are enough people in those basic values of care and respect and love, basically. It's love for your fellow human beings. It's love for all of life on the planet. Most people share them. Most people, if you say we're going to work respectfully together,
it's like, to be honest,
we are going to listen to the views of everybody in the room. No one person has got the answers. We're not going to allow a few strong voices to dominate. We're going to allow everybody to have their say, and we're going to work together to build our vision for the future. Well, then you get a really strong, robust vision and then you've got the people together who have developed that vision really having strong commitment to it, and they will spend a lot of their effort in helping to implement that vision. And part of implementing that vision, obviously, from the perspective of Gema Bangsa, is getting people elected to the parliament. So they will be the people that will be the people that will do the campaigning, that will be out there and talking to people at the at the markets, or talking to people in the streets. They will be the people that will be strong volunteers and to be putting a lot of effort in because they believe in what you're trying to achieve.
Jenna, as your experience sees as a senator and Australia Greens member party, what do you think? More important to winning the seats or more important winning the heart of voters?
Not one or the other.
Why?
And well, I mean, you were working to win the hearts of voters and to be working to create change everywhere, but you also have to be strategic. And as a political party, we've got to make some hard decisions about where we're going to put our resources. So, in Australia, there are 150 seats in Australia. We have got in the House of Representatives, and we've got 76 seats in the Senate. So we have now got 9 or 10 senators and only, again, one member of the House of Representatives. So 1 out of 150, not very many. But we know that, say, in the next 10 years, looking at what we know about Australian voters and where the support for the Greens is highest, there might be 10 possible seats that we could win in the House of Representatives. Again, it's only 10 out of the 150 probably, and maybe we will be amazingly successful and win 20 seats in the House of Representatives in the next 10 years. So that means we've got to choose which of those seats, 20 out of 150. And we have to make some very sort of hard-nosed decisions and say, okay, Which ones are we most likely to win? Where are we going to put our resources? Where are we going to put our effort to win those 20 seats? We don't want to forget about all the 130, but we know that we're going to focus. And probably at the next election, as Greens, we will only focus on, probably 5. We'll have 5 seats that we'll say, this is where we are going to be, really doing the intensive effort to try and win those seats. And they are big political and very contested decisions in the party as to which those seats are going to be, and it can be hard making those decisions. We know, of course, in our Australian political system, we've got the House of Representatives and we've got the Senate, and it's easier for us to get elected in the Senate. So we know that every election, because you need 14% of the vote to get a senator elected, there are 6 senators that get elected at each election in each state. As long as we run an okay election campaign across the whole state, we will probably get a senator elected. So we have to do enough campaigning to get us senators elected. And that's very powerful in the Australian political environment, because we now have what's called the balance of power in the Australian Senate, which means the government, they either need to get the support of the other opposition party, who they don't like very much at all, or they need our support to get legislation through the Parliament. Because in Australia, the legislation's got to go through the House of Representatives and the Senate. And if it doesn't go through the Senate, it's not legislation. So the government, even though we've only got a small number of seats in the House of Representatives, we have got all of that political power in the Senate, and we can get to decide which elections, which legislation gets supported and which doesn't.
This is the maybe the last our conversation, and this is really interesting because you give more advice and recommendation as a Green politician in Australia Greens based on your experiences, and maybe will be helpful for great Gema Bangsa party members, so they can make some of strategy for their campaign to touching heart of the voters. And the last maybe is like a recommendation or advice, Janet. What strategy and what kind resolution or program can we do in the future for touching the to make it the campaign for the people?
Well, I think doing what you're doing at the moment of committing to grassroots democracy, establishing the party across the whole country in all 38 provinces, and encouraging each of the parties in those 38 provinces to go out and do lots of work and talk to voters and talk to the community, keeping on doing that. But then it's knowing, because you do want to get people elected, it's doing the research, and which might be through talking to voters, it might be through doing the market research to know where are the places where we are most likely to get people elected. And so then making the hard decisions, well, it's going to be this seat in this province, it's going to be this seat in this province. We've got somebody that's likely to be a good candidate there as well. And then making some decisions to say, all right, we're going to focus on just a couple of those, or concentrate, not solely focus on, but concentrate on those, so that you actually get some people elected. Because that will then go along with your success, as was demonstrated at the Deklarasi yesterday. Getting a couple of people elected, then you are able to, from that next election, say, look, we were successful. We got 3 or 5 or 10 people elected, and it means more people will come on board. The other thing that I would really recommend is, true to the commitment of devolving power and democracy, is making sure that you've got good internal democracy in the party. Because people will also come on board if they feel that they have a say in the party and that they have got power in the party. So our advice from Australia as a Greens party is that our members, people join up as members because they say, yes, we like the Australian Greens, we like your policies. And then they, as members, they get to vote on who their candidate's going to be, and they get to decide on their policies, which are pretty powerful things, and that's the members that get to decide that. It builds that commitment and builds the movement and builds the power and the strength of being able to succeed and grow and get the change that the world needs.
Okay. Thank you so much, Janet, for your many substantial and meaningful recommendation and fights, and you distribute to your experiences as a senator and Australia Greens member. And we can do after this will be better for our Greens value in the future, and also for the grassroots, and to make it some of recommendation and reform with the environment and agrarian reform. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
so much,
Ade.
everyone.
Selamat dan sukses
Sampai
ke
ketemu
Gema
lagi
Bangsa.
pada sesi podcast berikutnya. Okay, this is our. We have one or two. Only one.
Oh yeah, ada nanti.
Okay, this is for you, and from Gema Bangsa T-shirt.
Thank you.
And,
The white one.
yeah, white, blue.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you.
Janet.
Thank you.
Okay.